7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
This is Eat and Drink with Ali Hassan and Marco Timpano, the podcast where back of house Ali and front of house Marco talk food and drink. Heads up, these two spent decades in restaurants, so some mature content and language is bound to come up. Get ready for Eat and Drink. Forks up.
Today is the day I set the record straight, okay?
Finally.
All right, I'm going to set the record straight. This is my friend Ali Hassan, if you don't know already.
Marco Timpano is the guy you're listening to right now.
Did you take a picture of this before?
I've taken a picture.
Okay, great, because otherwise I would. Okay, so I want to talk. This is the drink portion.
You're coming in hot because the drink is hot. We can't wait, otherwise we'll have a cold.
Start. I'm going to talk, okay?
all
You
right.
start. This is
okay.
So today on Eat and Drink, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite drinks, which is the cappuccino. So just I'm going to try to steamroll through the history. You stop me if there's anything you want me to really sort of touch upon. Cappuccino.
I don't know if you want to give me that liberty. I'll be stopping you every 3 seconds, calling the whole thing pretentious.
Oh,
but anyway,
listen. You call it what you need to call it. I'll call it what I need to call it. Ali, so cappuccino is from the word. It comes from cappuccio means hood. Right? So a lot of people think, oh, it's because there's a hood.
And by hood, you don't mean the ghetto.
No.
You mean
an actual Little Red Riding Hood,
yes.
let's say, right?
Okay.
When she was wearing a hooded cape or cloak.
Yeah.
So some people think that cappuccino comes from the fact that a lot of times the foam will have a bit of a hood to it, right? But no, it comes from the Capuchin order of monks, because in the 17th century in Europe, the color of this drink reminded them of the cloaks that they would wear.
Okay.
So that's where it comes from.
What a drab history. What a terrible origin story for such a delicious
Are you
drink.
enjoying it?
That's so
Did I make a good one? All right, good. That makes me happy. History would say that the Viennese bestowed the name Kapuziner.
You should practice these before we start, huh? What are you doing, huh?
My German is just nicht gut. Kapuziner, possibly in the 18th century, and it was in these Viennese cafes in Trieste when it was going back and forth between Austria and Italy that the cappuccino sort of came to Italy, and then from there it became one of the national breakfast beverages of the nation. I'm going to have a little bit because I haven't had any coffee this morning because I was waiting for you.
And that goes against everything you stand for.
It does.
Right? Coffee's the first thing every day. It has to be.
Pretty much.
You ever give up coffee? Mm-hmm. And that's
not an easy task.
And you're not a good person to be around, I imagine, when you do that.
Not really. I get the jitters. I get the shakes. So I also want to call something out on the Wikipedia page. They have a mistake. Wikipedia has a mistake, an error, if you will. Or what they've done is they've done an Americanization into their Wikipedia feed with regards to cappuccino, which I contest.
Okay.
So already you got me all riled up here this morning. Ali's just drinking his coffee.
You've calmed me down completely with this coffee. Meanwhile, you're peaking right now.
Yeah, I'm peaking because in the Wikipedia page they say two shots of espresso. So a cappuccino, for those of you who don't know, is espresso, steamed milk, and foam. And you've got them in almost similar proportions,
and
right?
If any one of those things are missing, it's not a cappuccino.
Yeah, if you don't have foam, for example, it becomes a flat white.
Right.
It's no longer a cappuccino. Now, an interesting thing about cappuccinos, I don't know if you've heard this, but if you're in Italy, it's difficult to get a cappuccino after 12 noon. And you should never be ordering a cappuccino after 12 noon. Because for Italians, a cappuccino is a breakfast drink. And so you have it with a cornetto. You have this breakfast drink with a cookie or a cornetto, which is a croissant stuffed with Nutella or cream. That's generally, and you'll have it at a bar before you go to work, right?
That's an interesting thing. Like here, when you try to order breakfast sometimes after whatever it is, 11 a.m., they go, we've shut the grills down. Italy has just shut their entire attitude down towards cappuccinos.
It just seems unusual. It's like it would be, for example, let's say you go to
it's like having a beer for breakfast. It's like flipping it. They're like, we don't usually have that before 11
because even that would be fine in Italy.
Hilarious.
But it would be like going to a steakhouse after you have your steak, your salad, your fries, all those things, ordering a bowl of cereal. Can I have a bowl of cereal? They'd be like, what do you mean? You just ate all that. And they're like, no, but I want a bowl of cereal now. It doesn't make sense, right?
Sure.
That's the equivalency that I bring to it,
okay,
right?
that very much doesn't make sense.
But if you wanted something like this in the afternoon, you could have an espresso macchiato, which would be an espresso with a little bit of foamed milk in it, just a dollop of it. Because for Italians, it's like, why would you want to eat a meal and then put this really heavy milk-based drink on top of it? It doesn't make sense gastronomically speaking.
Okay.
Right? So this article in Wikipedia goes on to tell you that it's 2 ounces, but they do say, well, some people say it's 1 ounce. What I found fascinating is the World Barista Championship, which is an annual sort of championship started in 2000. They judged their cappuccino segment by, the rules and regulations. A coffee and milk beverage that should produce a harmonious balance of rich, sweet milk and espresso. The cappuccino is prepared with 1 single shot of espresso. Correct. Thank you very much. The World Barista Championship.
You're not contesting that part.
Not at all. Textured milk and foam. A minimum of 1 centimeter of foam deep. 100%.
Okay.
A cappuccino is a beverage between 150 milliliters and 180 in total volume. So this is
still not hearing any contest.
No, that part there was fine. But within the actual passages that they have written here, it says that it is. I actually crossed it out here.
Yeah,
I crossed it out because like this.
I'll show you Wikipedia.
You see that big X?
Yeah.
A cappuccino is defined today in addition to a double shot of espresso. No, it's not. That's what North Americans have done because it should be a 6-ounce drink max. So a small cup, a coffee cup, not a mug, but a cup, 6 ounces, the palm of your hand, what fits into the palm of your hand kind of thing, right? Maybe both hands. But what we've bastardized it to be today is a soup bowl of coffee and milk, and that's not what that is, right?
We're also drinking it at 6 p.m. sometimes. You've done a lot of disservices, and we've disgraced your nation.
Well, you've disgraced the cappuccino, which is something I love, all right? So here's my thing. It's like, if you're going to get and the thing that drives me nuts, is you go to all these cafes and bars, and now they only have the dual shots. They don't have the single shot. Many places I go, I want a single shot cappuccino because I know what they're going to do and I want a small, right? And they're like, oh, we only have double shots.
Really? I didn't know I thought they could still have the liquid come out of only one of those arms. No?
Nope. And I went to one place and he's like, no, but I can make it a single for you. And I watched this dude make it. I should say bro, because he was a young guy who was really bro. And he's like, he hits the machine, the coffee's coming out, and then midway he stops it. So it's coming out of a double spout, and he stops it. I'm like, what do you, he goes, that's a single shot. I go, no, that's not a single shot. You stopped a coffee halfway because no crema was produced on top of the espresso. How can that be a single? My head flipped off the neck.
I don't think you want to hear this, but I'm going to write you into a sitcom one day. Your character, that guy, that purist on so many different levels is going to be, and you know, the crowd who's watching will be divided. Some people will be like, fucking lunatic. And other people will be like, he's right though, you know.
No. I'm right. I know I'm right. I know I'm right because this speaks to my entire body. Like when you have a great cappuccino, I'm not saying the one I made you was a great cappuccino.
Aren't you? I loved it.
It's decent. I hazard to say this. The best cappuccinos are always going to be at a bar that has a proper espresso machine. This was made from a Bialetti, which is a stovetop mocha that makes the coffee, and then I had to use a machine to froth the milk rather than a wand that blows hot air and to make the micro bubbles, which is the foam. Right.
I mean, I've been drinking bastardized cappuccino my whole life, so what do I know? I thought this was great.
But
I don't like the cereal bowl of cappuccino. I'm like, this doesn't feel right.
See?
I don't even know. I don't have that sense of purity, but I'm like, this doesn't feel right.
Intrinsically, you knew.
I know, because this is not a European vibe, right? It's never portions like this. It's never this kind of thing.
Now, have you ever been to Italy?
I have not.
Okay, so this is a fascinating thing that I experienced with my wife when we were in Italy. We were driving from Milan to Rome, and we would pull over to these what they call autostops or autogrills, which are like little like, you know, pull-off stations. I don't know what you would call them.
Where you can eat and get gas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like an en route, right?
Yeah, Service
route,
station.
Yeah,
service station.
That's what I'm trying to say. Service station. And en route is specific to the province of
You
Ontario.
took so long to get there. I thought this was going to be a real fancy thing. You're just talking about a classic service station known all around the world.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
In Italy, they call them autostop or autogrill. And I'm translating back and forth from Italian, so it's messy. And this is my first coffee. Okay, enough with the excuses. So we pull over to one of these things. And I said to my wife, we got to pull over before 12 because if you order a cappuccino after 12, you're going to look like the tourist I'm embarrassed of, right? She goes, no, I promise you in Italy, I will not drink it after 12. Truth be told, here I drink them whenever I want.
Of course.
But there I respect the culture, right? I respect the system. So we pull over. She gets a cappuccino. She was like, she had like almost a tear in her eye. I'm like, what's wrong? She's like, I don't understand how at this service station I've had the best cappuccino of my life. She's like, I can't understand it. She goes, if we went to a service station in our country, you would not get a fantastic coffee like this, right? I said, well, because if they serve anything less than, Italians won't go there, right? Yeah. Because they know what a cappuccino should taste like. Likewise, I think there's food items that we know what it should taste like, and if it doesn't taste right, we're like, that's not how we do it.
Yeah.
Bloody Caesar, which was 2 episodes ago. Like, if we would know, if I served you a Bloody Caesar that wasn't a Bloody Caesar, and I tried to mask it as one, you'd be like, get this away from me.
Yeah, agreed.
So there's that. I would say this. This is my numbers for the cappuccino, in case you're wondering. So about an ounce of espresso, which is 25 milliliters, and then about 2 ounces of steamed milk, and an ounce of froth, which is the micro bubbles in the milk.
1 to 2 to 1.
That's how I like to get it, and that's how I like to make it, and that's how I made that one there.
And if I get a 2 to 2 to 1, I'm a heathen and a cretin who doesn't deserve to live, or where's your flexibility on this one?
Technically, you're having a double cappuccino, which I don't really believe in, because for us, a cappuccino is a cappuccino. Cappuccini is the plural. If you and I were going to a bar, I would say to the barista, I would say, due cappuccini, per favore.
In one cup.
No, that would be 2 cappuccinos, one for me, one for you.
Okay, got it.
Would I say doppio cappuccino? No, because it sounds like I'm an idiot, right? Like a double, like he's like, either you get a cappuccino or you don't.
Well, I always get a double espresso.
Right,
I always
that's
get
different.
an Americano with two.
That's
with two.
different.
I always get I just need that a little extra punch.
That's
right?
different. Now, I could say to the barista, I could say un cappuccino con 2 espresso, and with 2 espresso, and he'd probably get it. He'd probably.
I don't know why you're talking in Italian to a white guy who works in Toronto as a barista, but good for you.
Listen.
I don't know why we weren't in Italy together. You were talking about down the road.
When we go, so when I say
willing.
these things, you'll be like,
God
okay,
willing.
I know we had that episode. I get what he's doing.
I will never be the embarrassing tourist. I will learn half the language before I go.
Anyways, that's my ode to the cappuccino, which I love so much. And
Your passion was on full display, Marco. Good for you.
I just go crazy when I go places, and I'm like, do you guys make a good cappuccino? They're like, yeah. And they make a swan kissing a dolphin. Yeah. And I'm like, this isn't a cappuccino. It's a bowl of milk with some coffee in it.
Oh, I want to take a picture of your face right there where you're like, oh, thank you. This is good. Ugh.
I also need to set the record straight on something else. I apologize for the sound that you heard on the Hangover episode. We were dealing with new mics. I was blindfolded. I screamed, you screamed. There was no ice cream involved, but it was a editing mess. And I'm sure people who listen to, like, their ears got blown. I'm sorry. That's just what happened. Things will get better the more I learn these mics. So apologies there.
I don't know if it's the mics. I think things will get better once you learn how to control your own passion.
I'm blindfolded.
Control
I got it right.
Control.
I got it right.
I know. That's a big deal. I was happy for you.
It sounds like I'm in
but
tears.
It's control. I know.
Look, there's a lot of things I have. Self-control is not one of them.
Buddy, this is a great way to start. Like, we're wasted at 10:30 in the morning with some, like, whiskey, gin, vodka concoction. This was amazing.
We can only get together when we can get together, and most of the times that's early in the morning. Yeah. Or like that's by the time we start recording, 10 in the morning.
And timing be damned, you're making a goddamn grappa cocktail if that's what you're making. This I like. I'm also. I don't want it to sound like I have a hangover, but I do have a hangover. I don't want it to sound like
third episode in a row.
Look, here's the thing. I have a.
Okay.
It's not technical. It's because if I'd slept another hour, I wouldn't have had one.
Okay.
But then I get up to come and see you. A lot of this hangover is your fault. You're the problem.
Well,
I don't have a problem. You're the problem.
Okay.
But I was hanging out with some of my friends from Montreal, and I was just thinking about
that's
this
all you got to
because
say. I was with buddies from Montreal. It doesn't matter.
My friend is a musician. He has his
Oh, there you
recording
go.
studio. It's our man cave. We go, and it's just the most, listening to music.
Sure.
And, like, he's on the guitar and showing us some new riffs he's created. We're having some drinks. I leave at 1:30, so I stop drinking at midnight.
Okay.
It's 1:30. I'm like, I'm going to go. There's 5 of us.
Right.
I'm pretty sure the other 4 are going to – I'm going to hear a chorus of guys going like, oh, okay, you know what I should go to? All of these people work. They all have jobs that start between 8 and 9 in the morning. Not only did I not hear the chorus of I'm leaving too, everyone was like, already? This is a weeknight. This is the middle of the week, 1:30 in the morning. So anyway, that's my Montreal – that's what happens. That's the crew. We just like to enjoy our lives.
I'm going to ask what people are thinking. What were you drinking?
Rum and the rocks, and then the rocks ran out.
Okay.
And then it was just rum with some cold soda, and then it was just rum.
Neat.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
That's
it wasn't
great.
bad. It wasn't bad. We were all right with it. One of my friends promised beer and then had a change of heart.
Didn't deliver.
So we had 2 bottles of rum between the 5 of us.
Did they deliver the
didn't
rum?
Finish. Yeah, the rum was great.
No, but did they deliver the rum instead of beer?
They did.
Okay,
they
well,
did.
that's very respectable.
That was their
Okay,
change of
I
heart,
mean
of
to-
course.
Next week episode is going to be our Valentine's Day episode. It airs on Valentine's Day, folks.
Speaking of joie de vivre.
So, yes.
Speaking of hangovers, huh? Get wasted. It's Valentine's.
Do you have your Valentine's Day meal or gift prepared or figured out yet?
I purposely miss Valentine's, and the day after Valentine's.
Oh, I love
the
this.
15th is the day where I profess my love for my girlfriend, then girlfriend, now wife.
Right.
Because I was like, we can't have it. Because it was just, she would visit me in Montreal, and she was just there. So I didn't want to do this over the phone. But she was also going to be there on the 15th. I'm like, I'm not going to have Valentine's Day be a special day in our relationship. That's garbage.
So great.
So on the 15th, I always try to do something. If I didn't cook, I would make her a fantastic meal. But to make her a fantastic meal is something I do numerous times a month anyway.
Sure.
So I have to go above and beyond. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. If I did nothing, she would still be cool with it. But I think I got to do something.
Nice.
I'll do
I
something.
hate going out on Valentine's Day.
Of course.
Because it's
What a nightmare.
It's the busiest day in the restaurant world. Kind of thing. That and Mother's Day are the
Yeah.
2 busiest days. And it's always a mess. It's always a madhouse. You never get the meal that you get on other days because they're cranking them out.
Sure. Our Valentine's Day special meatloaf shaped like a heart. Go fuck yourself.
And
You know what a heart looks like?
It's so expensive to like the jack up the prices and as they should because it's so busy and you've got to have a reservation, all that stuff. I avoid it like the plague.
Well, there's another element too, Marco. I mean, I think you'll agree with this, and you might not because you're not always agreeable. But one of the most horrible people in the world is that flower man or that flower lady in the restaurant and in the clubs, right? There are very few women left in this world who are overwhelmed with a sense of gratitude if a man buys that flower.
That single rose. That is not going to last more than 2 days.
Right. Also, it's it's the most uninspired thing. Like, oh, honey, how thoughtful. You shouldn't have. Yeah, no, there's no thoughtfulness at all. It's like this guy made me feel awkward. He was here. It's $1. You know what? I'll do this. Like you went through zero effort for this. But I feel like that describes Valentine's Day as a whole.
Yeah, that's great.
Like, this is all artificially created. There's no thoughtfulness. It's forced upon us. Now we're going to this place. I don't know. I'm going to tell you, February 15th. Everybody do it on the 15th.
I like that.
Screw the day. Stick it to the man. Cupid can suck a fat one. I got no a fat piece of chocolate. I don't know.
Whatever. You can suck something fat. That's fair. I always said, Valentine's Day is called Saint Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
So it's named after a saint, right? So really, the only people who should be celebrating Valentine's Day are Catholics.
There you go.
I used to do that in my stand-up, right?
Are you ready to talk about a podcast that you're going to do?
Yeah.
That is related to what you just said to me?
Yes. I have a podcast that just started on the 1st. The 3rd was our first episode, so we're kind of like between 6 episodes right now. It's called Saint Your Podcast, where I talk about the saint of the day on Sundays after church, whatever time that is, and we just call bullshit on things that we think are bullshit about the saint, and we talk about the saint, the things we think are cool, and we sum up whether or not we think the miracles were enough to make that saint a saint.
And if you're listening to that and going like, who the hell's going to listen to that?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. There's a podcast called Blink 155, something like this.
Okay.
And what they do is these two guys go through every single Blink-182 song. There's 155 songs in the whole catalog.
Right.
And every episode is devoted to one Blink-182 song. They dissect it, mock it, humor it. And that has a lot of listeners. So, my friend, I have a lot of hope for you. And there's a market for what you're doing, and there's people who are going to love what you're doing. Plus, you're coming at it from a comedic angle.
Yeah,
so
and that should be underlined because it's not for people who are religious. Just because they don't
quite the opposite.
Yeah, if you are offended by any, cause of religious sort of comedic whatever.
Yeah.
I always say this. I think all the major deities, gods, whatever you want to call them.
Can suck a fat one?
No. I think they were probably really, or are probably like the best.
Pretty chill.
Sports, and they probably like to laugh, and they probably swear, and they probably have a good time. Like, think of your best buddy, and just times it by 2, and that's probably who Jesus was. Not this. I know. I won't. This is a food podcast. I'm not going to go into it, but listen to Saint Your podcast if you want to hear me talk like that. All right. If it is a food and drink podcast, let's go to the food.
Enough with this drinking. Let's eat. All right, and we're back. It's like we were never gone. And today, I just feel like the weather and the time of year was right for this because I'm going to get into other ingredients that build from this.
Oh.
And what this is broth.
Oh, just broth.
Da-da-da-da.
Oh.
Broth or stock or a bouillon. Now, there's a little bit, let's get this out of the way right away. People often talk about broth and stock as though they're synonymous. Effectively, they are now. They weren't meant to be. So what happened was that stock was meant to be the more gelatinous liquid.
Okay.
Taking the liquid out of the bones.
Okay.
You boil bones for not boil, but you simmer bones for 4 to 6 hours.
Right.
You're going to get that marrow. You're going to get that gelatinous thing. Then what happened is people started making vegetable stock. There's nothing gelatinous in the veg. So then stock. The gelatinous part kind of got a little murky, and then bone broth comes out.
Right.
And they're calling it bone broth. If anything, it should have been called bone stock. Probably doesn't have the same alliteration, the same sexiness in the term.
Sure.
So they called it bone broth, even though that is what stock was.
So would it be safe to say that anything vegetable should be called broth and anything bone-based should be called stock?
But we are now in an era where it doesn't matter. That's how I feel. I know there's some purists out there who are very upset. They're upset.
I'm a little upset,
with the bowl of cappuccino. It's that kind of thing. But
never a bowl of cappuccino.
Never a bowl of cappuccino. But I think in my mind at this point, stock and broth, they go together.
Okay.
We're okay with that. In the end, we went to the internet. There's a guy named Marco Canora. Are you okay with me talking about other Marcos?
Yeah,
How do you feel about that?
Yeah.
Okay. He was the
Let's see what this buddy has to say.
He was the chef at Brodo.
Brodo,
in New York. Mm-hmm. So he even admits that bone broth is essentially stock. At first, it kind of short-circuited his brain. But what happened was with these wellness and paleo trends, stock started being called bone broth, and then we've all sort of had to come along for the ride.
Okay.
So broth, it's like if you're not making, I'm going to call it stock. Let's start with, let's just say stock. Okay. And then now you understand what I'm talking about, umbrella term I'm using here. If you're not making this at home, I mean, you're missing out on one of the most incredible things in the food world.
Okay.
Here's what I would do once upon a time.
Level of difficulty.
Level of difficulty is on 10 between 1 and 3.
Okay, so there you go, folks. Pay attention.
1 and 3.
What did you used to do?
What I used to do, I used to be very complicated about it. We had bones in, like veal or lamb or beef bones. Mm-hmm. I would roast the bones. I was trying to be some kind of a French chef in my mind, so I was roasting the bones.
Like a shank?
Like, big chunks like that, like the leg, the shank. And I would roast it, and then I would take that roasted bone, and that would go in water, and it would have to be with, onions, leeks, carrots. God forbid I didn't have the leeks. Anyway, I've come to realize that there's so much flexibility, and I didn't have to be that guy.
Right.
I really didn't have to be that guy. So let me give you the basic.
Okay.
Let me give you the basic.
I love it.
Vegetable broth or vegetable stock. Sorry, I said I'd use stock.
It's okay.
Vegetable stock. Toughest thing is the chopping of the vegetables.
Right.
Okay. Onions, carrots, celery, leeks if you want. Those are great ingredients.
Okay.
All right. In a pot of water, you can add aromatics. Herbs. You can add like cilantro, the stems of cilantro. What I do is when I get kale, I take the ribs out of kale and I put those in the fridge. And then every week I'll make vegetable stock using those kale ribs.
Oh, great, yeah.
When I peel carrots, I wash the carrots well first.
Yep.
And then I peel the carrots. I save those carrot peels as well. So there's just so many different things that you can use. The only thing that comes to mind that maybe you don't use beets in your broth. Don't use zucchini. Zucchini can make the broth a little bit bitter.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're off to the races.
And
man.
beets are just going to color it a weird color. Is that why,
No,
or flavor?
This is just a vegetable, and we're talking about.
Right, fair.
So for that, any vegetables, I put big chunks of ginger. You can put garlic in there.
Garlic for sure.
You can have it very clean.
Yep.
Or you can get kind of a dirty one.
Yep.
A lot of people do not salt their broth. They say do not salt it.
Oh, really?
You could ruin something later that will need salting. Personally, I don't enjoy the flavor of a broth without some salt. And I know that I'm salting, so I know that I won't salt it as much when it is in another dish later.
I think too the perception is because if you buy stock, let's say at Campbell's or whatnot, there's so much sodium in that that people are like, don't salt it, don't make it as salty as those people do, because it's like just they're masking it with salt or MSG. Some
this
people.
Is not a masking operation here. This is a highlighting.
Yep.
Once the salt goes in is when you can taste the other flavors.
Because the broth or the stock is what is the base, that sort of...
My friend,
yeah.
The foundation.
Thank you.
The foundation of so much. So that's a vegetable stock. As I said, it can be just a few vegetables. It can be many vegetables. The only thing I say you really should have in there is some kind of onion. If it's green onions, if it's leeks, if it's onion, just have some kind of onion. Otherwise, it's like the kitchen sink kind of thing.
Yeah.
Use stuff from your fridge that's not going to use. You have a couple of mushrooms left. What are you going to do with 2 mushrooms? Just chop them
when
in
you
half
have a
and put them
party...
there. Yeah.
And they bring that crudité thing.
Yeah.
And you're left with all these vegetables.
Absolutely.
And you're like, I'm not into...
What am I going to do?
What am I gonna, I've got
3 pieces of green pepper,
or
7
nobody
pieces of
touched
radish.
the cauliflower. The radish is the one that people avoid, right? And you're like, I got all this stuff. Make stock. Make stock, folks. Make stock.
Then the other level is now increasing in level of difficulty by very little.
A smidge, if you will.
Chicken bones.
Chicken stock.
Chicken bone. Now you're making a chicken stock.
Okay.
Again, just onions, carrots, celery, if you like, with chicken. What do? I also add cloves.
Yes.
I'll add sometimes a half a cinnamon stick.
No.
Again, with the ginger. Don't be like that.
That's not
Buddy,
for me.
It depends where you're going. It
I
depends where you're going.
I guess.
You enter your house and you have the smell of like star anise and clove and chicken. It's like, hey, somebody making pho? Making pho?
Yeah, okay, fair.
It's a very welcoming scent in the house. Now, what are you going to do with that after is important. You're going to put that in like some Italian casserole? Maybe not.
Right,
With these
okay.
So
sure.
It depends what the end destination is. Yeah. The end destination. Yeah. So what we do is we freeze. That's the other reason why there's no reason anyone should not be doing this. You can freeze stock easier than you can freeze anything. At any given moment, I have a minimum of 3 1-liter containers of frozen stock.
Amazing.
It'll say vegetable on it, or it'll say chicken, or it'll say beef. So the most complicated is maybe the beef.
But hang on. Okay, let's go back to chicken for a second before we go to beef. The bones. When you're talking bones, do you mean like the carcass? Let's say we had one of those bubble chickens from the grocery store.
Yeah.
Those ones that are like in bubble wrapped, and you've torn it apart, you've eaten everything you want, and now it's just a carcass is left.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Now, the best thing you can do, buy an organic chicken.
Sure.
Because if you want to withdraw the best nutrients out of the bones, right? If you can do it, if you can afford it, if you're so inclined, organic chicken is the way to go.
Chicken neck, throw that chicken neck.
Has so much
the
flavor.
chicken neck in the stock is a glorious thing.
So the other thing about chicken is, the other day we did the chicken tinga recipe here, right? So look that up if you haven't listened to that episode. It was so delicious. That was an organic chicken. What I did is I boiled that chicken in water, half the way up the pot. I put the chicken in. In that water, some cumin seeds, a cinnamon stick, some cloves, and maybe a couple of crushed, smashed garlic cloves.
Yum.
So that chicken was now steamed, and that chicken went on to be sort of ripped apart.
Sure.
And I made the tinga. But because of the fat, the skin of the chicken and all those pieces were there, the neck and all the cartilage, this was now a very fatty, flavorful broth. And that broth, my friend, is what you're
snap.
That's what I brought in today. I didn't bring in the broth.
Okay.
But what I did make is, as we call this, the foundation.
Yep.
It's a foundation because any soup you make,
Yep.
any curry you make, any stew, casseroles, and rice pilafs or pulaus, depending on what part of the world you're from, or pilau, depending if you're from the West Indies. So I made a rice with a chicken broth, and I want you to taste this.
So many dishes require broth in it or stock in it. They'll say, add a cup of chicken stock, add a cup of this, add a cup of that. And you're like, oh, I wish I had some. Do I have to buy the one in the carton and use that as opposed to my own?
And that is an option, but I really don't think you should go there. We all have vegetables in our home. We if we're eating meat, we have the bones there, and it's just so easy. And you can label on each one. You can save a liter, you can save a half liter, you can save a cup. For me, this is an essential part of your freezer.
Right. So this is fantastic. So what I'm having here is rice with peas and...
Yeah, so it's basically a pilau. So rather than using water in my rice, I used... I saute a little bit of butter. I didn't need a lot because this was also already the fatty chicken stock, gelatinous chicken stock. And then I sauteed a little bit of garlic, some lentils out of a can, just a few tablespoons of that, and some green peas, frozen green peas. Added the soaked rice to that. Filled that up with stock as far as it went, as much as I had. Added a little bit of water to that. Let it steam, and you've got all that flavor.
It brings a tenderness to the rice in particular that isn't always there when you just cook rice and water.
Yeah.
There's a softness, there's a suppleness to it, the flavor. There's something about fat. There's something about a fat stock, a stock that's fatty, that just, there's so much flavor there.
Absolutely.
It's just heaven. Like, it's just a really delicate, flavorful foundation of flavors.
Yeah.
If I can use an F anymore in a sentence, I don't know how.
My reluctance on stock was only one thing, which is that it's trendy now, right? They say that men over 40 should be drinking bone broth for weight loss and this kind of stuff. That's not where I'm going with this.
Okay.
If that works, great. I have no proof of that. But
Sure.
if it works, amazing. But what a great benefit that would be to guys like you and I, on top of the fact that it is so flavorful and amazing.
This is great. Okay, so the only thing you didn't mention, because I stopped you halfway through, is the beef broth.
Yes.
Or the beef stock. What would you tell us about that?
I mentioned that when I'd go high level of difficulty, I would roast the bones.
Okay.
So I would take bones that were already used, and then I would basically bake them in the oven for an hour to sort of intensify the flavor around them, and then put those in stock and then reduce it and it was an incredibly flavorful beef broth. But you don't need that.
Okay.
You can just take bones. My mouth is watering like crazy right now.
Did you have some?
I did have some.
Because it's fantastic.
Yeah, I did have a spoon of it. And I also had some yesterday when I made it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It's so versatile. Such a staple in the kitchen. Freezes well. Yeah. I've even heard of people freezing them in ice cube trays so that they can just grab a little bit at a time and throw it in whatever they're making. I wouldn't do that myself because it just seems like a pain. Listen, you do what's right for you.
Do you freeze wine in ice cube
No.
trays? I've heard about that as well.
No.
You wouldn't do that, right?
No, because I don't serve wine with ice.
What?
You serve wine with ice?
No. They put it in ice cube trays to then flavor gravies or other... Yeah.
I thought it was to put in a glass with wine.
No, we're not talking about savages.
I was
here. We're not talking about monsters. We're talking about normal human beings who do this. I've never done it, but people just need a little bit of wine sometimes in a pasta sauce, for example. I don't know if you do that. I don't know how
Open
you
a
feel
bottle
about
of wine
that.
is what we do.
Right, and then finish it all.
And then
as well.
finish it, right? But that's the way I work my systems. Oh, this is great. And can you add wine to your stock? Speaking of a little white wine, why not? A bit of
why not?
cooking
when you make
sherry.
When you make risotto, right? It's often white wine is in there too. You can do that. You can do a lot of things. Yeah, be flexible, be open.
This
but
is
definitely
great.
stock. I mean, I cannot stress it enough. If you have recipes for stock with ingredients that I haven't spoken about, I alluded to mushrooms a little bit, but a good mushroom stock is, oh my God, it's so fantastic.
Parsley for me is a thing that I would put in my stocks.
Of course. And that's like, again, sometimes you're using the parsley leaves, you're not using the stems. No. The stems is what I put in that one container in my fridge.
Celery,
sure.
I mean, celery.
Not all of it is delicious and edible. There's a lot of
you buy a huge stock to make a Caesar. You're left with so much celery.
Finocchio. Fennel.
Yes, fennel.
That is another perfect example of something you can't eat all of the fennel.
No.
There's the fronds, there's the base.
There's those little tiny leaves or
those
like what do you call? Oh, those fronds. Okay.
Yeah. Come on, work with me here.
I didn't
Marco.
know that was a frond.
Les fronds.
Okay. Is that? Oh, it's French. Okay.
Maybe it probably is. And there's just a lot of stuff. If you're doing great stuff with stock, write in, let us know. Love to hear about it.
Make stock, not war.
Yes.
There you go.
We're getting the T-shirts made.
All right.
Now for a fan favorite and a personal favorite segment of ours.
I'm going to try. You know what? I'm gonna actually pre-lower my mic. I'm not saying I'm going to get it right.
I'm telling you, you're not going to get it right.
Okay. You don't know.
What's in Marco's mouth? That's right. What's in Marco's mouth? It's nothing dirty. Will he guess it? Will he mess it? Let's find out. What's in Marco's mouth?
Okay, blindfold is on.
You're looking great.
Thank you.
Looking great, in case you were wondering. Okay, so here we are. Today, I've got some good news. It's something I can actually put in your hand.
Oh, my God.
How do you like that?
I don't know.
What I will say is don't eat all of it. I'm going to put some of it in your hand. I'm going to put this in your hand, all of it in your hand.
Okay. I feel like I'm at
you don't
church.
Have to eat all of them.
Waiting for communion. Okay. Oh, okay.
What did it feel like, bud?
You know what it felt like? You know nerds, those little nerds candies that you get?
Yes.
It felt like that.
Oh,
like it felt like.
I wonder if that's what it is.
I doubt it. I doubt you'd be like.
Why don't you?
I just stopped at the gas station and picked up some.
There might be days where that's needed.
Ooh, it has a lovely, wonderful smell to it. Kind of sweet. I'm gonna put them in my mouth. Oh, they're hard little stones, tiny little stones.
And that's why I told you not to put a bunch in. Yeah.
Okay.
Imagine I just picked up stones from your garden, and that's what it is. Guess which type of stone, Marco? You think you're so good?
Okay, they're seeds. Fennel seeds? They have a fennel flavor to them. They have like that kind of sweet flavor to them. They're small little seeds. And they have like this you would use to flavor something. You wouldn't just eat them like this. They're not a topping. They're not something like, they're not sesame seeds you'd put on something. They're like fennel seeds is what I want to say. And they're hard. They're crunchy. I don't think some fennel seeds are that hard. They're like little stones. Maybe you put them in a mortar and pestle and oh man. Okay. They're not cumin seeds because cumin seeds are a little bit more oval or long. These are kind of more rounded, I think. They're hard like little stones.
The people want an answer.
Okay.
Marco.
Well, they're a savory vegetable seed. It's not anise seeds. I know it's not because they're softer. This is a harder. Oh, man. It's a one food item. It's a seed of some sort. I'm going to say it is a. Oh, it's not a fennel seed.
This is where you've gotten it each time at the end. You kind of sound like you're giving up and then you get it. So I'm not.
Okay. It's not. Okay. I can't picture it in my pantry sort of herb and spice rack. I can't picture it in there. So it's a more unusual one. Oh man. Okay, I'm just gonna pick something because I can't think anymore. It's I don't know, celery seed.
Celery seed is not a bad guess.
Okay.
It is seed called a fenugreek.
Oh.
Fennel. You're halfway there, huh? Fenugreek is a plant. You know why I did this? You want to know why I did this? Because I think I did this for our listeners who are sick of you yelling hysterically into the mic triumphantly. All right? Fenugreek is something we use both in the seed form and in the plant form. A lot of it in Indian cooking. You see it in Turkey. Apparently, the Greeks had a name for it. It is it's used when you're pickling things, vegetable dishes, dals, spice mixes. It can actually be used in a spice mix. One of my favorite dishes is called aloo methi. Aloo is potatoes.
Yes.
Methi is fenugreek. That is the use of the plant. So it's like this green. It's almost like a spinach potato, like aloo saag, but this is methi aloo. Really, really good. I do have some news for you that I think you might find.
They're the size of grape nuts. Like they're a little bit smaller than grape nuts, but they kind of have that look and texture to them.
Yeah. People who are allergic to peanuts or chickpeas sometimes have a reaction to fenugreek.
Okay. Thankfully, I'm not because I put a handful in my mouth.
It's true. But I will say that fenugreek seeds can cause diarrhea, dyspepsia, abdominal distension and flatulence, and perspiration, and a maple-like smell to your urine or breast milk. So keep your eyes out for that, Marco. That was not my intention.
I have a great afternoon ahead of me.
But it's funny because it was also used in traditional medicine to promote digestion. So the same thing that could give you, stomach problems, promoted digestion. It can reduce blood sugar levels for diabetics, but there's not a lot of evidence out there. But this is sort of like, in the old country, it's used for a variety of different things. But
could you put this in a stock, my friend?
I would not.
Okay.
Very, very strong flavor. Very strong flavor. This is when I'm making meat, like a good meat,
water bison,
beef, lamb, goat, this kind of stuff. I will grind this in my spice grinder.
Okay. So I wasn't wrong when I said this is something you would grind or
you are 100% right.
Okay.
You're 100% right. Right? It is a very strong flavor.
Yeah.
It doesn't show up like that. I always grind it, and I will add it along with cumin and coriander seeds and cloves and this kind of stuff to a curry, like a lamb curry.
Okay.
And I find that's fantastic. Sometimes I'll put this in kebabs as well.
Oh yeah,
use it a strong flavor, but I'm a fan.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't use enough of this then.
Well, it was good to see you not get something. I'll say that.
Well,
I don't want to be petty.
Fair
but
enough.
It's enough with you guessing all the things correctly.
It just happened twice in a row. It'll probably never happen again. I was like on a high for almost the whole month.
It was good. Let's bring you down to earth.
Did you know? Did you like? I'm gonna get this. He's not gonna get it, or did you like? You were like.
I said, look. It was going to go one or two ways. Either me unbelievably impressed that you can recognize fenugreek.
Clearly you're not.
Okay. Or this was going to go as it went.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I just want to remind our listeners, next week is Valentine's Day. We're going to have a cocktail that is for Valentine's Day. You're going to do some sort of food item that one can serve for Valentine's Day or
the day after Valentine's Day,
on the 15th.
Which is my favorite day. Yeah. But yeah, we're going to do something, lovers themed for the lovers.
Yeah, the lover episode.
Yeah. If you're not a lover, you might be able to become one using this drink and food that we recommend to you. I mean, no guarantees.
And if you don't have a lover, make it for yourself. Love yourself.
Love yourself above all else. Because if you can't love yourself, you can't love anyone else.
That's right. RuPaul right in front of me here, right? I want to say this. Follow us on our social media, which is Podcast Eat Drink on all our social media, and we will give you hints on things we're going to bring to the Valentine's Day episode. So if you're like, I want to make the cocktail, but I don't know if I'll have that stuff, just look on our social media from now until the 14th, and you'll see I will make a point of telling you what alcohol to have on hand, okay?
Great plan.
So there you go. There you go. Ali, this was fun.
It was good. It was good. We hit all the right buttons. Yeah. Yeah, good for you. Stock is, I'm going to make soups and curries down the line, which will have stock as a base. We called it the foundation. So, so this is where we learn how to do stock and how easy it is. So when I mention add a stock into this curry or into this soup, no one's going to be like, well, how do you do that? What's that all about? Right?
Yeah.
It's very, very simple.
You sound like my uncle. If this is the foundation, I can't wait to taste the attic.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's not a smoky, steamy attic. It's a nice one.
Okay.
It's been remodeled, this attic. All right, everyone. Until we love again.
That's right.
We'll see you next week.
We hope you got your fill of Eat and Drink with Ali Hassan and Marco Timpano. Follow them on Instagram and Twitter at Podcast Eat Drink. Email them your cocktail and food suggestions to podcasteatdrink@gmail.com. Until the next episode, bottoms up.